Hey guys, so this is a video introducing functions. This is our next unit. So by the end of this video, we'll be able to evaluate functions. That's the first step. And it's something called function notation. Now we've seen this before. Function notation takes the form of this f comma x. And if you remember back to like a profit or a linear optimization, it was this. And then we had an equation. What this says, it's a function based on the inputs x and y. In this case, we're just going to start off with just a function based on x. Okay? So the f of x you can think of also as equaling y. Because it's y is normally based on what x is, okay? F of x is almost like a dependent variable. X is our independent variable. So what we do first is we say, okay, what is f of -4? Well, you'll notice that the only thing that changes, x becomes -4. So that's all I do for these things, okay? Is I take this -4 and I plug it in for x, or I substitute it in. So I would do 3 times -4 squared minus 8. So now remember the parentheses here. -4 squared, again inside the parentheses, is a positive 16. Because negative times negative is positive. So then I say 3 times 16, that's 48, minus 8, which is 40. So that is my answer. So my answer, how I write it, is f of -4 equals 40. I can also think of it as a point on a graph, and that would be -4 comma 40. And that's the solution. There's a few other problems in here that I wanted to highlight, namely ones that deal with fractions. Again, they could be g, it could be h, it could be any letter whatsoever. But it's still a function based on x, okay? So I give you a value, I take that value and I plug it in. The trick with this, okay, and the reason why I highlighted it, is operations with fractions. I put this -12 over 1. And all I do is I do 3 times -12, which is -36, over 4 times 1, which is 4. Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. Plus 2. Now I simplify this. This becomes -9 plus 2. So now this is -7. So g of -12 equals -7. Or it's the point -12, -7. Now another thing you guys might get tripped up on is, again, a fraction and then plugging into another fraction. So I have to remember PEMDAS, and whenever I'm dealing with fractions, remember I do everything on the top and then I divide by the bottom. So I'm going to take this 3 over 2, I'm going to plug it back in. H of 3 halves equals -2 times 3 halves plus 5 all over 4. Now what I do is I make both of these fractions. So that's -2 over 1. I multiply the tops, I multiply the bottoms. So this becomes -6 over 2 plus 5 over 4. I reduce that, -3 plus 5 over 4. I now add these top numbers. So that's 2 over 4. 2 over 4 can be reduced down to 1/2. So now my f, or my h, of 3 halves equals 1/2. Or it's the point 3 halves, 1/2. So that's how you deal with fractions. The next step deals with exponents and on top of fractions and multiple x's. So now when I deal with g of 3, there's 2 x's to deal with. I plug the 3 into both of them. So it would be g of 3 equals 4 times 3 squared plus 5 times 3 all over 2. Notice that I took the 3 and I plugged it into both of those x's. So now it's 4 times 9 plus 15 over 2, 36 plus 15 over 2 equals 51 over 2. Or, that's fine because I can't reduce that. Or I could write it as 25, 25. So my g of 3 is 25.5 or 3, 25.5. And that's how I would deal with that. The next one deals with exponents that we need to remember back to Algebra 1. And remember to have a calculator out. So again, I'm going to take this -2 and I'm going to plug it back into x. Okay? So I'm going to do -2, 2 times 4 raised to the 2 times -2. Well, I multiply these. 2 times 4 times -4. Okay? Well, now I have to evaluate that. And it's not 4 times -4. It's 4 raised to the -4th power. So I want you guys to take out a calculator. And what I want you to type in is 4. Okay? And then there's this caret button. Okay? It's right underneath the pi. Okay? And then plug in -4. Remember to put that in parentheses. So 4 caret parentheses -4. And what I get is a big long decimal. Because and we can go through this more, it's going to create a fraction out of this. So it's going to be 0.00391. And now I just multiply that times 2, and it's 0.0078125. So that is what my f of -2 is. Or that 2, comma, 0.0078125. And that's how I evaluate functions. Make sure you have a calculator, and your phone or your computer calculator will also do the same thing. You just gotta make sure that you type it in the correct way. So please complete the next practice problems, and then you should be good.